Georgette Bauerdorf, The Mysterious Death of an Oil Executive's Daughter, 1944. Please subscribe it. 20-year-old Georgette Bauerdorf enjoyed a shopping trip and lunch with her father's secretary, Rose L. Gilbert. The two said goodbye at about 2 p.m. on October 11, 1944. Heiress Bauerdorf was the daughter of New York financier George Bauerdorf, who had oil and mining interests in Louisiana, Texas, and Nevada. She had been schooled in a convent in Long Island, New York, and then graduated from a girls' school. Her father, stepmother, and sister, 21-year-old Constance Bauerdorf Dillon, had left for New York at the end of August. Georgette was now living alone in the family's apartment in Los Angeles. She was a junior hostess at the Hollywood Canteen. Actress Bette Davis, John Garfield, and Jules Stein opened the club on October 3, 1942, for servicemen who were in the Hollywood area. Members of Hollywood's professional trades helped convert the former barn on Cahuenga Boulevard off the Sunset Strip, and young women volunteered as junior hostesses to dance with servicemen. It was on the evening of June 13, 1944, that she met Private Jerome M. Brown, an anti-aircraft artillery trainee from Chicago who was stationed at Camp Callan, California. He left California soon afterwards and arrived at Fort Bliss in Texas on June 29. The two wrote to each other, and Brown received 6 letters from her in the ensuing months. 4 months after they first met, Bauerdorf cashed a check for $175 and used $90 of it to buy an airline ticket to attend Brown's graduation from Army School in El Paso, Texas. She told close friends that she was going to meet her soldier boyfriend. She planned to meet her beau on October 14, 1944. Hours after meeting her father's secretary for lunch, Bauerdorf left her apartment and went to the Hollywood Canteen. Her role as a junior hostess was to dance with the soldiers, but one man that her friend and fellow hostess June Ziegler, 20, later described as swarthy, insisted on cutting in on nearly every dance that Bauerdorf had that evening. He wanted to jitterbug, a dance that was of little interest to her. She danced at the club until about 11:15 p.m. and returned home alone. As she stood in her kitchen, Bauerdorf pulled out cutlery and dishes and cracked open a can of string beans. She then polished off her midnight snack with half a cantaloupe. Janitor Fred Atwood awoke to the sound of a woman's heels clicking back and forth on Bauerdorf's kitchen floor. He heard a crash, as though someone had dropped a tray on the floor, and then he went back to sleep. Bauerdorf tossed the empty can and melon rinds into the kitchen wastebasket, washed up her dishes, and went to the bedroom upstairs to get ready for bed. Anguished screams for help woke up a neighbor at about 2:30 a.m. He sat bolt upright in bed and listened as he heard Bauerdorf yell, "Stop, stop, you're killing me." The screams seemed to quiet down, and suddenly it went silent. Being sleepy and thinking that it was just a family squabble, he went back to sleep without investigating. The next morning, Janitor Atwood and his wife Paula were making the rounds, cleaning tenants' apartments at the upscale building that was home to some celebrities. They arrived at Bauerdorf's door at 11:10 a.m. and entered her apartment. It was quiet. Moments later, they found her nearly nude body lying face down in the bathtub. The couple called the police, who arrived on the scene and began searching the apartment for clues about who and what killed Bauerdorf. The place was a mess, with clothing and many of her personal possessions scattered around, but nothing appeared to have been stolen. There was jewelry on the dresser, along with her plane ticket to Texas. A large roll of $2 bills and sterling silver worth thousands of dollars lay in plain view in an open trunk. There were bloodstains on a rug in the bedroom adjoining the bathroom. An attempt had apparently been made to clean them up. Bauerdorf had a bloody nose, and police initially thought that this could account for the bloodstains. Inspector William J. Penprice of the Sheriff's Department took charge of the investigation, and his preliminary assessment was that she had been knocked unconscious after falling and had drowned. An autopsy the following day indicated otherwise. Dr. Frank R. Webb, chief county autopsy surgeon, reported that Bauerdorf had been raped. She was then suffocated when someone forced a piece of folded washcloth down her throat. There was evidence that she had fought and struggled against her attacker. The knuckles of her right hand were smashed and bruised, and there was a bruise on the right side of her head that could have been caused by being punched. Another bruise appeared on her abdomen, and her right thigh bore the bruised imprint of a hand, even indicating fingernail marks piercing the skin. Webb fixed the time of death at between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m., which was consistent with a neighbor hearing her screaming and pleading for her life at 2:30 a.m. Police found more clues indicating signs of foul play. The automatic night light over the outside entrance of her apartment had been unscrewed just enough to turn it off permanently without using a switch. It had been deliberately tampered with to either prevent Bauerdorf from seeing who was at her door or to shield her killer's identity when he left. Since the light was nearly 8 feet off the floor, the assailant likely stood on a chair or another piece of furniture to reach it. He went to considerable effort to make sure that the front of her apartment was dark. Police found fingerprints on the light bulb. Investigators believed that Bauerdorf's killer either used a key to enter her apartment or waited downstairs until she got ready for bed. Then he rang the doorbell, lured her to the door, and overpowered her once he was inside. Although her body showed signs of trying to fight off her attacker, there was nothing inside the apartment indicating any signs of a struggle. After leaving her body in the bathtub, Bauerdorf's killer took nearly $100 from her purse and then grabbed her car keys before he fled. The 1936 model coupe registered in her sister Connie's name had been taken from the apartment building's garage. Police found it the following day in the southern part of Los Angeles, 12 miles from her fashionable West Hollywood home. Her killer had ditched it when it ran out of gas. In a bid to find her killer, police experts dusted Bauerdorf's apartment for fingerprints as well as the car and the light bulb that had been tampered with. They tried to find prints from all 3 locations that matched, but the only ones that did belonged to the victim. They hoped that the piece of worn towel that was jammed halfway down Bauerdorf's throat might yield some clues. It had stripes, but laundries and hotel and apartment supply companies came up empty. Investigators interviewed 135 junior hostesses and other workers at the Hollywood canteen in their quest for clues. Ziegler told them about the persistent dance partner who had been at the club just a few hours before Bauerdorf was killed, but no one could provide them with a name. Police checked USO centers and other canteens to try to find him. Deputies R.T. Hopkinson and Joe Dennis staked out the Hollywood canteen on the night of October 14, 1944, in hope of finding and questioning the man they nicknamed the Jitterbug Soldier. Corporal Cosmo Volpe went to the police voluntarily when he heard that they were looking to question him. He said that he had recently transferred from New York to Los Angeles. He had danced with Bauerdorf the night before her murder, but he left the canteen at 10 p.m. and went to his base at Lockheed Terminal before being checked in at 11:30 p.m. That was too early for him to have been at the victim's apartment at the time of her death. Police also learned from Ziegler that Bauerdorf had dated a 6'4" serviceman several times less than a month before her murder. He was crazy about her, but she did not particularly like him. She finally refused to go out with him anymore. Police wanted to question him, but they hit another dead end. Police Captain Gordon Bowers, Lieutenant Garner Brown, and Lieutenant Hopkinson went door to door in the neighborhood hoping that someone had seen Bauerdorf's murderer and could provide a description. Neither that nor interviews with workers in the area yielded any new information. A sailor was questioned in Long Beach, but police concluded that he wasn't a suspect. At the end of December 1944, John Sumner walked into the Federal Bureau of Investigation's office in San Francisco and confessed that he had killed Bauerdorf. The 21-year-old former soldier and Navy seaman claimed that he had met her on the streetcar and accompanied her to her apartment. He bummed a coffee off her, and then another soldier came for a visit. He killed Bauerdorf after the other soldier left. Police discounted the story because there was no streetcar located within half a mile of her home, and her killer stole her car. The FBI learned that Sumner had been discharged from the Army for writing bad checks, and his family said that he had spent time in a sanitarium. A few days after Bauerdorf's death, her body was placed on a train and sent to New York. She was buried in a family plot in Woodlawn Cemetery on Long Island. Her killer has never been found. If you enjoyed my video, please subscribe it. Thanks.